PA system. I want to welcome everybody to the meeting tonight. It's great to see everyone. I know that we've got some that this might be their first time here. How many people are here for the first time? My goodness. Yeah. If you would, stand up, introduce yourself, say where you're from and that kind of thing, and let us know. We want to get to know you.
My name is Kevin Mathis. I'm from Red Oak.
Yeah, I'm about to settle down for Red Oak. This is what I'm Linda Fraser from Red Oak. Yeah!
Who else do we have?
My name is Ken Jarzenbach. I am from Maypearl.
My name is Murray Hiles, and I was a military brat, and I was military. I've lived everywhere in the last 5 years. I lived in Utah, but then we just moved down here about a year ago to Washington, actually come back to Texas to settle down here.
Very good. We appreciate your service, too. We really do.
Got somebody else right there.
Yes, yeah.
The White Charles, Waxahachie.
Okay.
And Carlos Pizan from Waxahachie.
Okay, great.
How you doing?
Is there anybody else?
Okay, Red Oak tied with Waxahachie.
We've got two. I was asking two for the Pharisees.
We got some Ferris people here too, so that's great. It's great. It's good to have everybody here. We've got a great program tonight. We're going to launch right into it, but just to kind of warm you up a little bit, I was looking today at some of the headlines. These are current headlines that are out there that might get your blood boiling just a tad. So I'm going to read some of those.
Do we need more?
Obama's left-wing network continues to expand.
No.
What'd that tell us? We've got to get prepared. Ohio election official says he voted twice for Obama in the last election. And this one hurts. I hurt you also. Navy unable to refuel carrier due to budget cuts.
That had to do with the Carter years, you know. That same thing happened in the Carter years. They couldn't refuel the ships.
Yeah, we're heading right back there for sure. University's student health plan, and this was Brown University, Yankee, but the university's student health plan will cover sex changes. Dereliction of duty. Obama did nothing to save American lives in Benghazi and lies about it. 3 of 10 small business owners fear closing their doors this year. Here was a headline that stuck out at me. Obama's third-term campaign. Judge approves birth certificate listing 3 parents. This won't surprise you. Harry Reid caught lying about $2.6 trillion in cuts passed by the Senate.
Wouldn't do that.
Say it ain't so, Joe.
Liberal think tank solution to global warming. Work less. And this won't surprise you. Obama says we need more new taxes. So we got to get energized. We got to get ready to get out there. We've got a lot of fighting to do. At this point, Henry is going to provide us with a prayer. If you would stand, please.
Father in heaven, we thank you so much for this chance to get together, for the ability to get together, and the ability to come to you directly to your throne with our petitions. We're concerned so much about our government and our society. We need your guidance. Please, dear Lord, come to our hearts and our minds, guide us, guide our steps, guide our decisions, that whatever we say, whatever we do is within your will, and that we can be used by you to help further your kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Remain standing for our pledge to the U.S. flag.
Right here. Here's the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jimmy?
About 100 words here to this thing. Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated. We're going to pass the hat. That's something we do every time. And I just wanted to remind you, it costs a little bit to put these meetings on. So we do take $100 bills if you've got them.
Gordon.
So we really appreciate the donation.
Sure, if you write a check, it'll go to our PAC. If you give cash, it takes care of the room for you.
Hat's right there.
And we don't have a hat.
Okay. I'll come back. Well, I feel like Minnie Pearl. I haven't been to a Tea Party meeting in so long, but I am just proud to be here. I'm proud to see all of y'all out there. No, y'all don't know Minnie Pearl, do you?
Howdy.
There you go. Oh, that's Henry. Henry Aldridge.
Coming, Mother.
We are over time.
Yeah, you are.
It's been recognized. All right. Our keynote speaker for tonight is someone that I've known for a long time. I was writing for another rival newspaper here in Davis County, I don't know, what, about 15 or 20 years ago?
I didn't know we had any rivals.
But Charlie said, well, come on over here and you write whatever you want to. He even named my column. He's simply speaking. In other words, he could have said, you know, just dumbbell speaking, but he said simply speaking.
Say thank you.
And so I've been writing for him those many years, or with his organization. I believe he's the only conservative newspaper in this part of Texas. Maybe in all of Texas. I don't know. Is there another one in Texas at all? That is...
Well, there's a few of us scattered around. We sort of compare notes from time to time.
Charlie, you never know what he's going to do next. He realized that the Second Amendment was probably pretty important, being that they made it number 2. And so he acted on that in recent months and started teaching our ladies here in Texas, here in Ellis County especially, how to use their handgun safely and accurately. So that makes me feel a lot better. If I get in front of these Texas ladies that has that handgun, I'm going to be feel a whole lot better about being safe, knowing that they know how to use it. I think he may help some of his ladies here tonight. Oh, with that,
you better hope you're behind those ladies and not in front of them.
Jimmy, I thank you for that warm introduction. And I want to thank you tonight for coming out in this weather, because as I came in the door, we saw these people in suits and furs, and I thought, oh my God, I don't have enough handouts. And then I feel really underdressed. It was great relief when I came in here and saw the blue jeans and the tribe of Levi prominently displayed in here. Several years ago, in college, as a matter of fact, in my government class, I had a class assignment. I could write on any topic I chose, and I chose to write on conservatism versus liberalism. I didn't know the difference between Republican and Democrat at that time. And after having done the research and wrote the paper, I came to the conclusion, based on the simple fact that I believed in God, I believed in earning my own way, that I must have to be a conservative. Because I believed that if I earned it, I ought to be able to keep it. And for someone sitting over there not doing anything to take part of what I got and give it to them, made me realize we have a system in place now that basically penalizes success and rewards failure. And to that end, I decided I'm going to be doing everything I can to tell people and educate them in the ways of conservatism. And you may disagree with me, but right now everything they stand for is against what I believe in the Holy Scripture. And several years ago, they had a problem in England. You all probably remember that. And people fled England because the hierarchy of power at that time was God, the church, the king, the government, the people. Basically, the church whispered in the king's ear, as long as you do what we tell you to do, you can be king. Well, some of them got tired of that. So they took on some boats and Mayflowers and whatever. I don't remember all the names. And they came to America, and basically they said, screw you, church. Screw you, king. Screw you, government. We're going to take our unalienable rights directly from God. We're going to be sovereign men. Unalienable means unalienable. We cannot be taken away or attached. And to this end, my newspaper has a mission statement that I would like to read to you. And I hadn't carried this in the paper for very long, but I felt like it was time to really unfurl my flag and let the colors be shown where we really stand for those that might not have known. The First Amendment, right to free speech, and the press is under attack. The Ellis County Press stakes its foundation on the republic, not a democracy. For opinion and thoughts are beholden to the group. The Ellis County Press exists solely to establish the foundations of a free press to allow for the free exchange of ideas without fear of retaliation, intimidation, or oppression by government officials. We're pro-life, pro-liberty, pro-property rights, and ardent defenders of the Second Amendment's right to carry and firearms, not for hunting, but for protection against a tyrannical government. Our only agenda is the truth and nothing but the truth, but in the context of individual rights and liberty. And that's what I am, and that's what I stand for. I feel like I'm the watchman on the tower. I sound the alarm. It's not I will sound the alarm, and if you don't do anything about it, it's your fault. Okay? As I learn more and more, I try to present it. As a matter of fact, I believe it was December 7th, 1941, sometime about 7 a.m. in the morning. Japan decided they wanted what we had. Why? Fear and greed. They wanted what we had. They wanted to dominate. And I heard Newt Gingrich give this speech one time. He said on December 6th, everybody was fighting and quarreling, marrying and divorcing, life as usual. On December 8th, the nation came together, fought 2 wars. Defeated the enemy in two different theaters of operation. We have lost that willingness to come together and fight. This last election showed what has happened over the 40, 50, 60 years since that war happened. And we have now a divided nation. A nation that's probably not ever going to come back together unless God intervenes in our lives. Because we have fatherless children growing up without a role model. And they think the government is their daddy. And anything that feeds your weakness is your enemy. Would you all agree with that?
That's right. Amen. Amen.
Now let me tell you another interesting thing. More than 200 years ago, our fathers fought tyranny, uniquely giving us a democratic republic. Now, I ask you, did George Washington shout at the Britons? Did he throw rocks at them? No, he shot them. He used a gun, and he defeated them. Now, if you take the rights of people, free people, to protect themselves, then you wind up with what Germany had, Russia, all these other places that have had, if you're disarmed, you become a conquered people. The only thing that keeps us free is the ability to fight back. Jimmy smacks me. I slug him. He breaks my arm. I kick his leg. It escalates until finally, if I have superior power over him, I subdue him. We have one of the best militaries in the world. We have the greatest fighting force. And why? Because any enemy that comes against us, we have superior firepower, and we can neutralize the threat. To that end, I got to think, what about individuals? What about the women? Women have always had a problem of being able to go out to a range and shoot. Boyfriends want to go out and impress them with big guns and scares them. Husbands get out there and start being critical, and usually that ends with divorce or something other. So, I created a group called Charlie's Angels Brigade, and it's for women only. Let me give you a little history about it. Since guys are testosterone driven, and women are more like sponges that want to learn things, they're not really trying to show off to each other, it would become a natural avenue for me to teach them. They have a natural point of aim. They've been pointing their fingers all their life. You get out of here. So wherever their finger points is where the bullet goes. I I became an NRA certified pistol instructor so that I could learn how to train. And I took their 8-hour course, condensed it down to 3 hours in the classroom and 1 hour in the range. And I decided, okay, I'm not going to start them out with a 1911 45 caliber. I'm not going to start them out with a 357 Magnum. Let's get something that's non-threatening, that's going to be fun to shoot, and they can overcome any fear of pulling the trigger for the first time. So I invested in 5 Walter P22s or 22 semi-automatic pistols. And we go out the range after the class, and I strip down the 16 reasons known again to 2. Basically, you have constitutional right, the others defend yourself. Okay, we don't get into hunting, sporting, collecting, all that. I just want to get the basics. And the safety is one of the biggest issues that I teach is gun safety. Don't ever point the gun in a direction unless that's where the bullet's going to go. And know what's behind you. 9mm tend to want to go through one person, maybe 2 or 3 others. So you want to make sure there's no one behind you. After going through the safety, we go into the mechanics of how they actually work. We go into the bullet. It's made of 4 components, and every one of you guys can tell me what those are. We got the bullet, the case, the primer, and the powder.
Wait a minute, slow down.
Jenny, I'll give you a cheat sheet later. Anyway, then we tell them that when the hammer hits the primer, a spark is there, and it ignites the powder very rapidly, causing a rapid expansion of gas. It doesn't explode. It burns very quickly, pushing it. Anyway, after we go through the fundamentals, then we teach them about stance, how they're going to stand, how they're going to grip the pistol, how they're going to get aim, sight picture, sight alignment, and then trigger control and follow through. And once they learn how to do that, in a short period of time, for someone that has never pulled the trigger of a gun before, by the time they get through, they are deadly shooters. And I've got some girls here that's going to tell you this thing about their experience. Now, what happens is what we teach in the classroom is what they take to the street, because you're going to go with what you've been trained to do. So if you get trained in the classroom to do a certain thing, when you're confronted, that's what you're going to do. Now, you can either react, or panic, or act. Those are the 3 things. If you panic or react, you're probably going to die. You're going to be a victim. But if you act according to your training, you're probably going to survive. Does anybody have any questions about what I just covered? All right. Now, my first class consisted of my wife, Sheila, my stepdaughter, Tia, and 2 other ladies. That was on a Sunday. Following Saturday, Tia and Ben went out with some others to get the concealed handgun license. Now, Tia, I want you to stand up and I want you to tell this group of people that's not going to bite you what you did in the classroom, okay? And what you did. Well, you can do whatever you want. What are your...
Come on up here.
Come on up here. This is Tia Morgan, my stepdaughter.
Well, we took his class, but we actually didn't get to shoot that day because it rained. So I had actually never picked up a gun until we went to the CHL class. And we went to the CHL class and I did a 98 in the written test and a 97% on the shooting. Wow. And that was a 9mm. 9mm, very big, very heavy. I did not think I was going to hit the target. My husband was giving me a dirty look, so.
We're not going to tell you his score, but let's say it was not as superior as she did. He didn't get to go through my class. We also have Linda Fraser here from Red Oak Jazzercise. And Linda, would you like to come out and share your experiences with us?
Well, I have a big mouth, so I probably don't need one.
Is this one of your angels too?
She is.
Of course I am.
All right.
Yeah.
When Charlie was telling me about it, I was thinking, ooh, I grew up in a household full of guns. And we went like every Saturday night shooting rabbits and frogs, which wasn't much left of them after that, to eat, you know. But I never did shoot a gun. I didn't like them. They were loud. They were scary. So when he told me about it, I was going, yeah, I think I want to do that. Okay, you know. So that day I'm thinking, ooh, I'm just not real sure. Just that hesitation, because I have 2 guns at home. When my husband passed away, they were his. So they've been in the closet now for 11 years, just sitting there. I didn't even know how to load it, either one of them. But after going into his class, he's so cool and calm and collected. He had it torn apart. So I felt comfortable with the gun torn apart, and I could see that there were none of them that were loaded. He wasn't packing anything that I could see, or anybody else. But by the time, I was still nervous. I was still nervous. But we were going through this, and the more I got through it, I kept thinking, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to be able to do it. But by the time he got finished, I was ready. And we went out there, and it rained, and I didn't get to shoot. But he's very good at teaching every step of the way, which I don't know if I'm just a slow learner or what, but teaching every step of the way so that I felt comfortable that I can pick up a gun, and I got to go shoot the next weekend. And I was ready. I was ready. I did not feel like I was going to shake like I did before I went into class. So I would recommend it to every lady, even, you know, if it's been a long time since you shot, just to go out there and go through the class, encourage your wives, your daughters, your sisters, just to get out there and give it a few hours to become comfortable with it. And you won't be sorry. I think you did a great job, and I recommend it to everybody that I talk to. I'll learn to shoot.
My wife Sheila, when we were dating, we had a 38 special, and she went out and she was dead. I said, oh man, I am deep trouble. And she went out to range, and Sheila had a stroke several years ago and can only use one hand, but she was able to put bullets on paper even with one hand.
Only takes one hand.
It only takes one hand. Now, we basically start out with a 10-inch paper plate with a little dot in it. I have them at 3 feet, and we fire 3 rounds and we back up. And the amazing thing that happens, and if you'd have told me this before I even started, I wouldn't have believed you. The minute that bullet hits that paper, their eyes open up, the confidence is there, they like it, and they move all the way back. And at 8 feet, if they're hitting paper, they're hitting center mass, okay? Now, I had a 15-year-old, never fired a gun before in her life. First time, she hit dead center. She had a 1-inch grip all the way back to 8 feet. Then she wanted to shoot a 380. We transitioned her all the way up to a 45, 1911. She had a 3-inch grip on that. I said, you're my new personal bodyguard. And I engineered. So the point I'm making, and I'm not selling my class. It's booked out, 2 or 3 weeks in advance right now. But it's a good, solid class for personal protection, and that's what I was wanting to get the ladies to do. I wanted to have 100 ladies, 100 Charlie's Angels, they call cabs for Charlie's Angels Brigade. I've exceeded that. We've had more than 105 ladies go through the class so far. So guys, if you see this pink hat coming down the street, be fearful. When I present this hat to them, I said, men will fear you, women will respect you, children will obey you, and bad guys will flee from you. Yeah. So anyway, that's that part of what we're doing with getting individuals. Now, the interesting thing, I called it to get the latest CHL applicant information, and it's amazing. They have had so many people applying for concealed handgun license. I think within the last 2 months they've had 3 million background checks or something like that. So we are getting to be armed. Now, here's a question. The liberals want us disarmed. We got the guns. They don't have any. How are they going to take them away from us? Now, getting on a more serious side, this is something I pulled off today, and I'm just going to read it, and I've got a few copies up here if any of you would like to take a copy of it. We hear the so-called gun show loopholes, lies, damn lies, and statistics. This was posted by John Malcolm and featured Rule of Law. And basically, I'm going to just read it to you. There is a lot of misinformation circulating about background checks and gun ownership. Under the Brady Handgun Violence Preservation Act, which created the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, all federal firearm licenses are required to conduct a background check for all firearms transactions, even if they sell the firearm at a gun show. This is to make sure that the gun isn't being sold to a person who is prohibited from purchasing a gun under Section 922 of Title 18 of the United States Code, which would include convicted felons, people who have been adjudicated to be severely mentally ill, and people who have been convicted of a domestic violence offense. I don't want those guys having guns either. Do any of you want them to have guns? I don't think so.
I do, but I don't.
No. The bad guys. No.
Or gals.
The gals, they need to have. President Obama Vice President Joe Biden, New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, and scores of others have repeated the mantra that approximately 40% of all gun purchases are conducted through private sales at gun shows and are not subject to a criminal background check. This has become known as the gun show loophole. At a recent Senate hearing, Baltimore County Police Chief James Johnson went so far as to say, allowing 40% of those acquiring guns to bypass background checks is like allowing 40% of airline passengers to board a plane without going through airport security. What gun control proponents never say, though, is that this oft-repeated statistic is based on stale data that was grossly exaggerated even when it was fresh. As the Washington Post has pointed out, this 40% figure comes from a 1997 report by the National Institute of Justice, a research agency within the Department of Justice, and was based on a telephone survey sample of just 251 people who acquired firearms in 1993 and 1994. This was years before the NICS system went into effect. Of the 251 participants, 35.7 said they didn't or probably didn't obtain their gun from a licensed firearm dealer because the margin of error was plus or minus 6 percentage points. It was rounded up to 40%, although it could just as easily and legitimately have been rounded down below 30%. In addition, if you subtract people who said they got their gun as a gift, inheritance, or prize, the number dropped from 35.7% to 26.4%. And in terms of how many people actually buy firearms at gun shows, the data from the same survey indicated that in 1994, only 3.9% of firearm purchases were made at gun shows. Citing this data as evidence of how many firearms are currently purchased through private sales not subject to the background check is akin to citing data about current seatbelt usage that is derived from a limited sample taken years before the mandatory seatbelt law went into effect or before cars were even required to have seatbelts. We all know that according to the phrase popularized by Mark Twain, there are three kinds of lies: lies, damn lies, and citing much limited and outdated data over and over again on a matter of this magnitude, however, is going too far. And I think the more people understand how the statistical data, the information we're being fed, is distorted, is an outrage. And I think this terrorist group here that I'm speaking before, according to the FBI, that's what you've been labeled, will take action and get people like Ted Cruz and others like him in a position of power and authority to make changes happen. And I'm through. If you have any questions, I'm certainly open to anything that you might ask.
How would a person,
Jimmy, you're going to get in trouble.
Found that hat.
Oh, man. You don't understand.
Jimmy, it does match your eyes.
Putting it on backwards does reduce your IQ below 100%.
Yes, Jimmy, you have something.
Oh, I was going to ask if you see ladies that want to be more comfortable with their guns. How do they come down and see you?
I've got some cards here. We have a website. We also have Facebook. It shows you every student that's gone through the proficiency. So if any of you ladies are interested, or husbands want to get their wives, a lot of husbands give me money not to train their wives. I don't understand. But anyway, if anyone would like to get more information about it, I'll be happy to give you that information. Yes, sir.
You might explain to, we have some people here that may not know this, but you might explain to them about the castle law and about the cars, the vehicle.
The state legislature recently, and I'm not sure of the date, but extended the castle law to your vehicle. You can have a gun loaded in your car out of sight, and you can transport it from your house to your car, and your car to your place of work if they allow you to have a gun in there. You cannot carry it on your person without a concealed handgun license. That's what the law says. The concealed handgun course is a 10-hour course, 8 hours in the classroom and 2 hours in the range. And basically you're going to be shooting from 3 yards, 7 yards, and 15 yards. You'll shoot 50 rounds during this course of fire. As a student, you have to hit 70%. You have 250 points, or whatever 70% of that is. Do the quick math. I know Jim is a mathematician. As an instructor, I have to have 90% success rate. And also, if you use a semi-automatic pistol like a Glock or a 1911 or 9mm, that's considered a semi-automatic weapon. If you shoot that, you can carry that or a revolver. If you qualify with a revolver only, that's all you can ever carry. Now, I don't know why people would want to carry a revolver. Most of them have only 6 shots. My Glock, I have 16 opportunities to stop bad guys. Plus, I can reload quickly with my magazine. And so, if there's more than 6 guys, what are you going to do? Because you're not going to hit everyone in the back. So, it just makes sense. There may be more of them coming, so have more bullets, right? So,
And then there's the how many shots does it take to stop stats.
right. Well, I met a guy, I met a member of Textile Defense, and we went through CPR training today, and one of the participants was shot 5 times with a 22, and it still didn't stop him. He was, I don't know the circumstances. Dallas police officer took him to the hospital. One hit his grazed his skull, one hit him in the back. He still got one in his lungs and a couple in the hand.
The FBI stats are 9mm average, 7 shots to stop. 40 cal is 2.4 and 45 is 0.7.
You know, you get hit with 45, you're going to stop. It don't hurt. Well, you don't get up for those. So, an interesting statistic too from the FBI, the guy with the knife running towards you from 31 feet away will cut you before you can draw down and shoot him. Did you know that? Yeah. By the time you see it, he's already here, and the time you react to it. So there's a lot of additional training that's available out there. My basic thing to get the ladies trained is overcome the fear of firearms and have basic skill set to protect themselves immediately. We extend those courses to tactical home defense courses, outside courses, several other courses. So we're not limited to that. But I wanted to break ground for the ladies to get in there and get comfortable. They are more vulnerable than guys are for attack and whatever. Yes, sir.
Charlie, what's the status on legislation in Texas for open carry? I've heard that they're starting to kind of explore
they were going to introduce bills in that. I'm not sure where that stands. I originally, I'll hold this against me, I'm originally from Oklahoma. I still root for the team that plays Texas. And they seem to be winning a lot more than Texas. I don't know. But anyway, there's a guy, I went to Oklahoma Military Academy, we had a reunion, and Steve Martin, not the actor, but he was a state representative from Bartlesville, introduced legislation into the Oklahoma legislature. The Senate copied his bill, and they passed open carry in Oklahoma. They're not having shootouts at high noon on Main Street. There's just a lot of stuff that everybody's been afraid of in Texas that they don't think it's good to see guns out. Well, listen, everybody in this room probably owns at least one gun. How many of you do not own a gun in this room? How many of you would like to own a gun? See me after me. No. No, we're just messing with you. The current state of panic buying is that there's no bullets to be bought. There's no guns to be bought unless you've got a small bank loan. AR-15s that were selling for $800 now get $2,000 to $3,000. Bullets, I saw Dallas Pawn there at 77 right before it gets on 35 was in the other day. They were selling a box of 9mm for $45. They had it. So you have no gun, no bullets, or you can buy these for $45 and you don't have any bullets. What are you going to do? Yes.
Do you think that's because Homeland Security, I just read on the Drudge Report, they're buying 22 million more bullets Homeland Security uses?
Well, I'm assuming that's so they get more range time to practice so they can do better shots.
That article said they had enough bullets for what they've already bought, what to buy now, to go for 30 years of war.
Yeah.
If you equate it to the Iraqi war, it would be 30 years. That's kind of scary to think, what are they running, what are they saving the damn for each one of them?
I understand your concern. The Social Security had bought, I don't know how many rounds, and they had so many agents. And the NRA sent out a bulletin about what was going on there. Time you spend 500 rounds in the range, times the multiple agents out there, they're going to burn up a lot of ammo. I watched a little deal on the Marines being trained on 50 caliber machine guns, and they had 10 machine guns lined out, and each one had to shoot 1,200 rounds. Okay, and they had 50 caliber box holds 100 rounds. So they had 12 boxes each. Well, right now, $5 a round. I figured that was 60 grand every time they shot. And this guy was shooting and they were adjusting the elevation. And I said, man, just let me have the brands, you know?
Right.
But it was amazing how much money they spend in military training and how much ammunition is expended to get those guys. Most police departments would go after range once a year or sometimes twice a year, depending on the department policy. If you go to range every week or once a month, you're going to be a better shot than most police officers. Just statistically, because your skill set is going to stay enhanced. Learning to shoot accurately and effectively is a perishable skill. If you haven't shot in 10 years, you're not going to be shooting that target like you did if you were practicing every week. Yes, Paul?
Charlie, I have a friend in a high-speed guard unit in another state, and he's an older captain, okay? So he's a squared-away guy, and had some Air Force service, moved over. Air Force wouldn't take him back after 9/11 because of hearing loss. Army took him, and then he ended up in a guard unit. He tells a story going to the range just a couple of years ago, qualifying with a 9mm. He shot 7 rounds. They said, you know what you're doing, move on. They were doing that to all the officers. But yet, all these alphabet agencies, all these weird agencies are now gunned up. They've got black uniform ninja teams, and we get reports from credible sources, from mainstream sources about EPA, Social Security, different groups. They're all gunned up. And that is what concerns a lot of them. And those groups are buying all the ammo, they're doing all this training, while our military training and these high-speed guard units that now in the new modern Army have to go to war, they're not getting the time on the range. And that's what's curious to me, is you've got new groups, strange missions, they're getting all this ammo. And at first it was only fringe people reporting on this. Now it's mainstream people. People I know are telling me their account of whatever alphabet soup agency they're with, and they're getting all this range time. Army people are not getting it unless they're in elite units.
They had a drill in Houston, I was sitting near Houston, and everybody was surprised. They saw helicopters come in, there was no warning. They just come in and did a mock drill in the city environment, urban warfare. It's basically urban warfare. They're training on our soul. I don't have an answer to that. I don't get briefed on that, unfortunately. Yes, sir.
I might have an answer, but I know this Marine general, I won't mention his name, we had a conversation a while back, and he told me, and I said, if we ever really had a real division and a conflict in this country, where would the military stand? He said, honestly, he said, I would guess half the military, which would, or more, would abandon, wouldn't shoot its own people. And the other half might, because they feel obligated to the Constitution. But if you look at the military, predominantly, it's mostly Western and Southern men. And I don't think they shoot their own people. So you're right, there's a point, the reason why you don't want the military involved, because the military won't shoot their own people.
They might shoot them liberal Yankees.
Yeah.
We've done it before.
Somebody told me that 90% of the Marine Corps is registered Republicans. If that's the case, I think we've got it one more.
Predominantly Southern men too.
Yeah.
Well, how many people in here have heard of the Oath Keepers?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
Oath Keepers?
Yeah.
Well, if you're military or if you've given any kind of oath, you know, to the Constitution, these people are going to stand down if there's a problem. And you might see Harrier jets landing in Walmart parking lot, but they're not going to be used against the public.
Well, you take an oath to defend the Constitution, both enemies, foreign and domestic. We're defending the Constitution. Those rights, the Bill of Rights, are available. They're not to be taken away from us, guys. If they're going to be taken away, it's going to have to be by force. And personally, I'm not going to let that happen from my standpoint. I'm going to defend what I have. I'm not going to allow a foreign nation or foreign religion to come in and dictate how I'm going to worship God or how I'm going to defend myself. And I think everybody in Texas, in this room, feels the same way. And you just got to stand up and be counted. Look, a long time ago, people said, well, Charlie, aren't you afraid that somebody's going to shoot you or something? I said, look, I'm a Christian. God's either going to protect me, take me home, and I don't care which way the outcome is, because I want to win in the end.
Right.
And every one of you is going to do the same thing. Amen. I want to thank you for allowing me to come here tonight and speak before you, and hopefully I've shared information that you find valuable, and if not, you blame Jimmy.
I have one more question, Charlie. Now, I have heard, for those that haven't taken the class yet, you ladies and men, that the mere brandishing of a gun in a crisis situation, domestic, I'm not talking about tyrants, the mere brandishing of the gun is effective in 90-something% of the cases, and whoever's trying to take advantage of you flees. Is there any truth to that?
There may be. In my class, I teach TSA, or knowledge, TSA, sorry. You talk about the alphabet stuff and it gets more. Knowledge, skills, and attitudes is what we teach. We teach you the knowledge, how things work. We give you a skill set, but the attitude is how you're going to deal with something, all right? Now, as a Christian, I had to come to a resolve. If my gun comes out, somebody dies. All right, bottom line. If evil comes in front of my gun barrel that day, that's judgment day for them, because God wants to meet them, and I'm going to send them on their way. I'm not going to be a victim. And now, let's say a crisis happens, everybody hunkers down, people come to the house, because they know I have food, and they're begging for food. I'm going to pray and feed them. The guy comes in and tries to take it from me, he's going to die. All right?
Exodus 17. Read, have you both read it.
If my gun comes out, death's going to occur, and it's not going to be mine.
Yep.
Okay? And that's the mindset you have to have. Peter cut off a Roman soldier's ear. You all remember that? Yeah. And the Lord put it back on, healed it, and he said, Peter, put away your sword, now's not the time. The implication would be there would be a time that we would have to defend ourselves with whatever weapon systems of our day we have. And I firmly believe in the First and Second Amendment. The First Amendment is freedom of speech, freedom of religion, etc. It's backed up by the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. So I've got a little keychain from Texas Press, so it's a little symbol. On the back, I've got a .357 shell, and this is the First Amendment backed up to the Second, flip it over. It's quite a crowd pleaser. I could sell those, probably. But again, thank you for allowing me to speak to you.